everyone. Welcome to another episode of Really Career Talk. I am Rebecca, your host, and I have my co host.
Hi, my name is Foley Asamoah.
And today we have another guest on our show. We're really excited to have him. He has extensive amount of experience, and I'm going to turn over to him for him to introduce himself first, and then we're going to get right into the conversation. So,
Hello, guys. I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me, and thanks for extending an invitation over to me. Um, Sorry. Okay, so my name is Yemi. That's what I go by.
Mhm.
I have been in the IT field for over 5 years now, and also I'm also a registered nurse,
Oh,
nice.
wow.
registered in state of Maryland and District of Columbia.
Oh, wow. Man, that's interesting. So take me back before the nurse, before the IT, too. Tell me before you started your career, what when you were like in school, did you always wanted to be in nursing and IT?
So before I even enter college, I remember always playing around the computer lab when I was in high school,
Mhm.
and because of the way it was structured back then, it's really hard to try to get your hand on like a full blown
Mhm.
PC. Then it was more of Windows NT back in the
Yeah, with those
days.
floppy disks.
Yes, yes, yes. There we go. So when I graduated from high school, I actually took an exam into Nigerian Institute of Technology, Information Technology Institute, and I took the exam. I never heard back. Every
Mhm.
day, myself and my dad were always looking at the newspaper to see if my name was going to be published. So back
So you
backtrack
kind of
before.
failed? Or was that?
No, I
Or was
don't know.
this?
It's just the way Nigeria works.
Okay.
I later get in, but I was already almost done with my nursing program.
Mhm.
I was like, there's no point coming back. So backtrack to that. I wasn't born in Nigeria. I was born in UK, Coventry,
Okay.
about 45 minutes from London. So myself and my parents we moved back to Nigeria. So after writing the NIT exam and I didn't get it, so my dad and my so we're talking. So I started going to. I had a friend that actually had a computer science background. We met when I was playing soccer. He was older than me. He was like 10 years older than me.
Mhm.
So I started talking to him. I became his friend. Got to realize that he was actually a computer science engineer. He built PC from scratch.
Oh,
So that
nice.
was my hands-on experience. So our first ever PC at home was built from scratch between myself and that guy. So that really excited me, and that wanted. So, but along the line, I had to do something because time was going. So I had to enroll in So I had two bachelor's degree actually. So a little bit of something, some things about me is not normal. So you guys just
Hey,
uh,
we're just enjoying the story.
so I actually started as a uh, microbiology when I was in school, and 2005, my grandmother passed away. So this part of my story is still I'm really emotional about it. So
Mm.
if you see tears dropping, I'm fine. It's
It's
just normal.
okay, you know.
So my grandmother passed away. Before she passed away, she had a fall and she hit a occiput at the edge
Mm.
of a bed,
Hmm.
Hmm.
and she was unconscious for 30 days. And
Oh,
I
wow.
remember my grandma was also a former retired nurse as well.
Mm.
So, and I remember her always telling us that when she's ready to go, you guys should not like hold her, just let her go. So she was unconscious for 30 days. The kids, my dad and the siblings, they tried their best to try and hold on to her. The funny thing was she wasn't communicative, like she was in a deep coma. And
Mm.
but she will open her eyes and talk to me and my dad only. So the day she was passed away, I know nothing. I know nothing about something called CPR, which is basic.
Mm.
And she was passing away, and so I was playing. She had her head on my thigh, and I was playing with her hair because she was really. She was. I think she was the only person that like properly understand me because I was a handful of a child growing up. You know, I'm one of those kids where if you say don't go there and you don't give me the rationale, like tell me why I
Mhm.
should not go there and what's gonna happen if I go there. I want to go there and explore by myself. So my intuitive self, always, got me in trouble. So when she passed away, I didn't go back to college for about 6 months. I was home. I think I'm the only one that felt the death more than anybody in the
Mhm.
family.
Mhm.
So I decided to. So one day I just woke up and I told my dad and I said, I want to go to nursing school. And the look was, it wasn't shocked, but it was more of surprise that where is that coming from? So I
Mhm.
explained to him, I said, I want to help. I could have helped grandma, even though it was against her wish. If I know how to do CPR, I would have performed CPR on that woman. And, you know, it was like he knows a couple of male nurses. So my dad is actually an electrical engineer by degree, and he's surrounded with a lot of medical professionals, a lot. So he knows a couple of male nurses. So he told me to go speak to one of them. Um, that this particular male nurse now lives in New York, Bronx, and he told me to go speak to him. So I spoke to him. Apparently, he and his wife were both nurses. So it was like what made me want to do nursing, and I just gave that because I felt like I was still grieving, and the only way I could, get out of that grief was to try and do something that I felt like can, I can justify for losing that. So long story short, I did my nursing exam. I got into nursing school. So my dad was like, "You already 2 years to finish your bachelor's. You have to run both of them together." And the way it's set up in Nigeria, your parents pay for your school fees. So I was one of those fortunate kids that my parents, were doing okay. They invested heavily in our education from the first child to the last one. So it was like I don't mind. I'll pay for both of them. So that's how I ended up having two bachelor degrees.
Mhm.
Okay.
So moving forward, I finished my nursing 2009, and I got an opportunity to work in Saudi Arabia right away.
Mhm.
So I was working in Saudi Arabia for about 6 to 7 months. The money was good, but the temptation was just too much. For a young man like me, I wouldn't
Oh wow.
recommend Saudi Arabia for anybody. No. So my uncle was actually also worked there. He was a psychiatrist as well. So it was through his agency that I got it. So it was like you need to leave,
Mhm.
or else you're gonna get in trouble. So that's how I played visa lottery. I won the lottery, the green card lottery, and came over to United States. So
Okay.
when I got here, it took 2 years for my credentials to be approved.
Mhm.
So the very second year, I started taking classes at Montgomery College. I was actually taking the DBA class, and it was supposed
Mhm.
to be 2 years associate degree. So when they approved my credentials, I was like, you know what, I'm going to put this on hold. I'll come back to it.
Mhm.
And I remember I had a roommate who was also thinking of going into nursing. So when they approved my credentials, I wrote my exam, I passed my exam. He was a pharmacy tech, so he decided to go to Chamberlain. So my roommate is now a top cloud engineer at Amazon.
Oh
He never
wow.
worked as a nurse in his life. He
Oh
has a nursing
wow.
degree, never worked as a nursing degree.
It's
So
crazy.
just I have few friends around me that we started in healthcare and we just diversify. So becoming a nurse, I was working, two jobs, young, living the life, making the money over time here and there. The money was good. I wouldn't lie about that. But there's just part of me that was never ready to settle, and so I went to do my MP program. This is all where it started. So when I started my program at Bowie State, I was at their campus. Southern Maryland. It was me and one of my childhood friends. And
What's the MP program?
nursing practitioner program.
Okay.
And the 2 weeks after studying, I woke up in the morning and I asked myself, are you really trying to, continue with this nursing bullshit? Excuse my language.
Your
So
kids
I was
watching.
I sat myself down and I asked myself, can I do better than this? I said yes. So then I decided to go back to my DBA. So I sat down, did my research, spoke to a lot of people, went online, did my research, joined a couple of meetups, forums. So I will sit down, I will sometimes I'll go to like they're just like the Linux engineer forums and I'll just go there and just sit down, just hear what they're saying. And one day one guy was like,
and they're like, who's this?
Oh yeah, he was like, you always come to the meeting, you don't say anything. So I was like, to be honest, I'm a nurse, but I'm interested in switching. And the guy was like, I don't know how that's gonna work. And I told him, I said, as long as the sky is still blue, I believe it's possible. And he was like, where are you from? I said, I'm from Nigeria. I was like, okay, yeah, it's possible. Yeah, you Nigerians have this crazy drive. So that's how I started. And I knew not having that computer science background is I'm gonna have to touch every aspect till I get where I'm going. So I started with a Linux Red Hat certification course. I finished that. My first job was in Amazon, where my roommate back then still worked right now. And everything was fine. They flew me to Seattle, perfect. And on finishing the interview, one young lady, I think it is Chinese descent, and she asked me, if your web server, which is called Apache Tomcat, is throwing this so code, how do you troubleshoot it? One thing I realized is, in IT, it's never wrong to say, I do not know, but I can research it. So instead of me to give that straightforward answer, I was beating around the bush, and that killed my opportunity with Amazon. So I came home, I was sad. I I was in DR for like a month, just I didn't want to see anybody. I didn't want to see anything, you know. So moving forward, I told myself, this is supposed to make me stronger. It's supposed to give me that boost. I won't let this discourage, what I'm trying to achieve with this. So, came back and along the line, I was still interviewing, and this was back as 2014. I was still interviewing, and I realized that during the course of the interview, there were a couple of questions about databases, and I don't even know what they are. Like, I have no clue because I don't have that background. So, one thing I learned by myself is, it's always good to, do some research. When you hear something new, just research, just get yourself familiarized. You don't necessarily have to know it all the way. Just get yourself familiarized with it. So that curiosity prompted me to go learn Oracle database, MySQL database, and SQL Server database. And I got my first job, which is remote. The company was in Rhode Island. So I was working as a director of nursing then, and I was working as a DBA. So they send me a laptop, and I would take the laptop. When it's like meeting time, the sprint time, I will go lock myself in my office. Because my office is at the end of the hallway where I was working, so nobody will even know I'm inside the office. So I will lock myself sometimes like 2-3 hours. So I did this for like 6 months, and I asked myself, how long do I want to keep doing this for?
Yeah, because it's like, hey, Yemi, you got to come out there. Like, seriously, it's after hours.
Because there was a particular time I was explaining, they asked me to do some patching, and I was explaining how they asked me to do a POC. POC means proof of concept. So they want to patch the existing database that they have. And and they asked me to go do like a proof of concept to that, to show that it's going to work. So I was in the middle of I was presenting, and there was a code. It was like 6 patients were coding. When I mean coding, that means they were about to die.
Mm.
And when they call a code, if you ever have friends that work in healthcare, especially nursing homes or hospitals, it's all hands on deck. You have to drop what you're doing. You have to go. And as at that time, I was one of those most experienced senior nurses. So I was like, guys, I'm about to lose power. Sorry, I will call back once the power comes back. 'Cause I had to find some type of lie. So that was like, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. So then I finished the project back then in 2015. And when I finished my next role, which I was hired for, but I couldn't continue because the client turned around and said they actually want a United States citizen. I was like, oh, man, this citizen of a thing. So while I was not on project, I had no job in IT. I still kept learning. So now I've learned Linux. Linux also, system admin, covers the networking part of it. So I learned the server, I learned operating system, I learned networking, and I learned database.
Mm.
So while I had nothing to do, I was just working as a nurse because there was no project. I I told myself I wasn't going to sit down and just wait around. So I started looking at the job market, started researching what's the next thing after being a DBA, database administrator. Then I realized that there's something called database developer. So I was looking at the job description, I was looking at the things that you have to learn to get to that. I was like, you know what? Let me challenge myself. So one thing about me is I'm always curious, and sometimes the curiosity takes me to where I don't want to be, but I don't mind the challenges. I actually enjoy the excitement that it
Mm.
brings. So I was curious, so I went to go to another course to become a ETL developer, which is essentially database developer or data warehouse developer. And I learned that. And a month after I was done, I got my job at NNT Bank.
Mm.
Was a year contract. They required me to be on site for 6 months, then remote 6 months afterwards. So which means I had to move to Buffalo because the head office is in Buffalo, New York.
Mm.
So that's how I found myself in Buffalo, and I had to resign my nursing job.
Mm.
So the good thing is I'm still a nurse. My license can be transferred anywhere. So the place they actually put me in an apartment, like apartment. There was a hospital like 3, 4 blocks away. And most people that lives in that apartment were mostly medical people that work in that particular hospital. So one day I was doing laundry and I saw one lady who was also doing laundry. She was a scrub. I was like, like, how can I get in that hospital? She was like, oh, the best way is to go to an agency. I said, really? I said, they pay very well. Oh, okay. So she linked me with the agency. And so while I was working in Buffalo for 6 months, I worked as a nurse also for 2 months. So
Hmm.
Oh,
you
wow.
can call me
How did
hustler.
you
That's fine.
how did you balance that? Like how were your hours? Like were you working during the day as a in M&T and then at night doing nursing? What were you doing?
Yes,
Okay.
that's exactly what I did. MNT office hours is from 9 to 4 sometimes. You don't stay to 4 o'clock because it's not so one thing I realize is IT environment more relaxing and chill than
Mm.
healthcare. And the reason why they make it that way is because they want you to be able to, focus because one mistake can set the company or the organization back for 6 months.
Mm.
So they always want you to focus, and that's why they pay the top dollar. That's why they don't want you to you're with us, just focus on us. So being a Nigerian that I am, we love money. So I kind of
You said
explore that
that.
opportunity. So I kind of explored the opportunity. So I worked at I did my 2 months contract. So when my 6 month contract ended, I came down back home to Maryland, to DMV, and I also got a job with the Senate. The
Mm.
Senate, so the project was more with the National Community Service, where um, the Senate, the Congress folks, the way they do things to their constituencies by like handling like projects. So for them to do that project, they need somebody to give them like a forecasted data. Okay, so last year, this is what we did based on the data. What we did, this is what they can provide in terms of funding. So my job is to write like a hardcore SQL query to kind of like give them like a kind of like a metrics of what the project they worked on year before or 2 years ago, stuff like that. So that was a nice job, very super chill. Um, but again, after 3 months, I was told that I couldn't pass the clearance because they needed a US citizen.
Dang, man.
No.
I know.
Seems like a theme right now.
Yeah. So I didn't get discouraged. I had the contract here and there, sometimes 2 months, sometimes 2 months, sometimes 3 months here and there. But I wasn't worried because I'm a nurse, so my nursing keep bringing money to the table. So while all those gap was happening, I also took opportunity to learn AWS Cloud. And the same year I started learning, it's the same year I got certified. So I'm actually dual certified and AWS solution architect and developer. So which means I can actually initiate a cloud environment for enterprise and also develop application and that enterprise cloud environment.
Oh,
So
nice.
fast forward, I was opportune to start working for Deloitte, which is still my current employer. And it's been a wonderful journey. Um, it's been a year, it's been more of learning stuff. So I went from basic learning using SQL to now using Python to now using Java. So it's just when you have that desire to always want to learn, to always want to be curious, that desire will make you get your hands dirty, and that's essentially what got me to this level that I am right now. Just the curiosity and desire, to learn more.
So,
So
so Yemi, so you can, because I noticed you mentioned that you have like system admin and DBA experience as well too. So you mentioned Python and Java, so you can transition to software engineering and software development, correct?
yeah, so my current title actually it's cloud solution specialist,
Okay.
and my second job that just ended, I was actually a software engineer.
Oh wow.
Nice. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah,
So we have some additional questions we want to
Yeah.
ask you. Thank you for sharing your story from nursing all the way to now being a systems engineer, cloud specialist. So one of the questions that we wanted to ask you, I know
I'm
you,
shy though.
Yeah, it's okay.
listen, hey. So you mentioned how you started. Can you tell us about, I guess, challenges you faced on the way? Because I know you said that, you really forced yourself to kind of push through these adversaries. So can you tell us like what those were, or like 2 or 3 challenges that you had?
So one of the challenges which I mentioned a couple of times was being a US citizen.
Mm-hmm.
Because what I realize is in DMV area, there's more of a government contracting
Hmm.
jobs. So
Mm-hmm.
if you don't have that US citizenship thing, it's always a barrier. And it's like few roles that takes green card. When it comes to some certain areas. So if I was a sysadmin, I'll probably get a job faster, even though I'm not a US citizen. But because I wasn't even applying as a sysadmin, I like money. So
Hmm.
that money was always a factor for me. So that was one of them. That was the US citizenship. Um, Most challenges that I would say I faced was focus on trying to transition, speaking the lingo, knowing what to say, knowing how to present projects and use cases, and sometimes just also going through the interview. So sometimes they will be asked questions about particular application, which you know very well, but you have to find a way to, to answer that question. You can, if I ask you, what's a computer? Excuse the background sound. If they ask you, that's if they ask you what is a computer, right? You will not just say, "Oh, computer is what you use to, do application." No, you can't just answer like that because the interviewer is not expecting you to give a layman understanding. They're they are expecting you to, you know, to describe the computer in reference to what you're using it for. So
Mm.
that was a challenge. That was one of the things I learned the hard way, and it was always funny that I stopped taking classes from. I'm not trying to blackmail or badmouth them from our African folks because I feel like they don't give you end to hand of what you need to be able to successful. They're very technical, no doubt, but there are other things that's attached to being technical. Like if you go through an interview and they're asking you, give me the use cases of things you've worked on, you're like, wait, use cases, what's that? Because
Mhm.
throughout my entire time taking classes with them African folks, I never heard that word from them.
Mm.
Okay.
And those are the like the key lingo words that you have to use in the interview. When I say POC, I didn't hear that from them either. Proof of concept. It's something that it was because of my doing my research and taking classes with my Indian folks. I have a place where I take my continuing education platform, and that's where I get to understand how this thing really works. They provided me actually with a robust interview prep where they tell you how to approach every job interview. And I've been using that, to be honest, it's been working. So they gave me this thing many years ago. And I've been using it up to now, and I don't even need to read it again. It's just everything is just plugged in my head.
Mhm.
So those are the challenges, knowing the lingo, knowing how to navigate yourself, especially if you don't have that background, if it's not what you were doing before. So for me, sometimes I had to catch myself trying to describe what I've done. Sometimes my nursing still spill over to the IT side, and those are the challenges. And just for me, learning new things is not a challenge for me because I actually love it. It keeps my brain young. I'm old
Okay.
actually. I'm like 50 years old.
So yeah,
Learning new things.
we have a couple more minutes too, so we have a few more questions. My question is, what are your advice for people switching from, because you coming from nursing and switching to IT, well, you're still in nursing, but going from nursing to IT, that's a big, big career change too. So what's your advice for people who are, in your space where they want to go to IT, but they're in a totally different field?
Thanks for asking that. I've actually helped three of my friends
Hmm.
that I've worked with in the past, and one of them was actually a medical doctor. So
Oh, wow.
yeah. So what the advice, and this is what I told them. For example, if you're working in a particular field, um, you're current, right? Your consistency makes you current about what's going on in your field. So when you're switching now, let's say you just finished nursing school, and what all through you're doing nursing school, you're working in IT and you're trying to transition to nursing school. Um, knowing knowing how to transition, knowing how to study, knowing what to study, knowing how to prep your resume, knowing the things the buzzwords that needs to come out of your mouth and it needs to
Good
be
point.
present to your resume, knowing the right tool sets to learn. It's it's hard.
Hmm.
It's hard, but because it's hard, that should make it more interesting, I think, for folks who truly want to transition. I know some people just want to transition because they hear IT pay top dollar, they just care about it, but nobody's willing to put in the work. But the
Yeah.
few folks I've learned, I've helped, and they put in the work was more of consistency. It's not something you do daily. It's not something you're doing right now. So the fact that you're not doing right now means that you have to put in the time. So, for example, you trying to transition to be a Python developer and you were taking Python certification courses. So which means that because it's not what you do for a living on a daily, you have to spend more time practicing. So which means that if you take classes twice a week or every weekend, that means that you don't wait till the following weekend before you pick up that resource material, read and practice. You know, IT is not a field where you can just read and cram. It's not, it doesn't work like that. Most importantly, you need to understand the logic behind this particular tool. Say, for example, this Python, you can use it to write programs. So how do you use it? Once you understand the logic of that, that is what is going to keep ringing in your head. So even when you get questioned in the interview, even when you get to the job, you understand the basic logic. So what I would say is anybody trying to transition, regardless of whatever field or whatever they're coming from, they need to keep practicing. They need to keep studying, and the good thing about this is there are resources out there. Sometimes you don't even need to pay to learn how to code or to learn how to manage a database, or you don't need to pay anything to even know how to work in the cloud environment. There are resources out there, but it's just that you just have to have that excuse me. English is not my first time, so let me calm down a second. So just need to keep practicing. If you're learning this, if you're learning if you're doing a particular course, don't wait to the next session of the course before if you study it, if you get say like if you get any class today, after today, after the class, give yourself 1 or 2 hours. If you can be putting in 2 hours every day, so that means that you are putting something in your brain every day. So if you do that, let's say the class is 6 weeks. So imagine you put in 2 hours into that class every day for 6 weeks. Imagine how much you will know, how much you will understand, and how much you will be able to approach situations that has been thrown at you regarding the application. So that's going to be my biggest advice, practicing and don't stop believing in yourself.
Okay. So we have one last final question for you. What are your next steps now? Since you've been in the IT field for like 5 years now, you're working at Deloitte, which is one of the top firms. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years, 3 to 5 years from now?
I'm actually not done yet.
Okay.
Yes,
What do you have next? Tell us.
Yes, I'm happy to share that
know.
because I already started my journey in it.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a long journey, but I'm happy to get started. So everybody has been hearing about cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
People are just more interested in buying and selling, right? Most people are not interested in how is this crypto, how is it being developed?
Yeah.
How is it being, why do we have a higher volume on a certain days? Why do you have higher volume on a particular month of the year? And it all boils down to something called blockchain development. So that's my next goal.
Okay.
And I already started on that. But for you to know blockchain, you need to go through big data. You need to go through full stack developer. So I'm in the process right now. I'm at the big data phase. I'll be done in August. I'm actually gonna graduate. So I'll be traveling to India.
You got a whole
wow.
degree.
Congratulations.
That's nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thanks. It's a PGP program with NIT Roluka is in Upper Baghdad, India. So
Oh
I'll be going
wow.
Mhm.
there to maybe I don't know, just be going there to just for the fun of it because
Yeah.
they actually do like a virtual tour. I just wanted to travel to India.
Okay.
Also.
Hmm.
So
Nice.
then after that, I'm taking two months break. Probably go home, go to Nigeria, and enjoy Christmas, and then back to action January. So the big data is the first part. Then from big data, excuse me, the big data covers some programming and big data as well. Then from that goes to full stack development, where you can function as a web developer, you can function as as a proper software engineer. Then because you need those components to be able to become a blockchain developer.
Mm-hmm.
So as a blockchain developer, you can do a lot of things because what is incorporated into is just not mining of Bitcoin. So mining of Bitcoin, all you need is just a laptop, and you
Yeah.
write your algorithms on that laptop, and you can just put the laptop just one corner of your room and allow the algorithm to be mining for you. And when, say, for example, the algorithm mine a particular volume, and you're like, okay, we can put that like a condition. If the volume reach so amount, push the volume into the market. So that explains why every time there's a dip in there's a fall in Bitcoin price is because
Mm.
somebody is pushing
Pushing it out.
volume volume that they mine out. And
Okay.
it's not just one person, multiple people.
Mm-hmm.
So, because yeah, it doesn't have to be. It can't be one person to affect the price significantly. So multiple people. So when you buy that volume, you're essentially paying me. So that's one of the things, and the process of it, I also going to get my hands on IoT, Internet of Things, which is also the next big thing. Let's say for the next 10, 15 years, when I'm done with that, I wouldn't worry about learning anything for the next 10, 15 years.
That's
And that should
good.
be sufficient because I'm trying to retire at the age of 40.
Yeah.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah. Well, that's all the questions we have for you. Yemi, thank you for being on our show as well. It was a lot, very informative, very inspiring as well too, especially your journey from you know from nursing to being a big time IT professional as well too. Now, if anybody wants to have questions on your journey as well as some advice that you can give, is there any way that they can reach you through any social media?
Yeah, yeah, my social media is probably not a place where you're gonna reach it to me because
Yeah,
my social media is pure social media. Like
yeah.
that's where I'm very
LinkedIn.
silly. So LinkedIn, yes, my name is on LinkedIn is Yemi Awolaja. Just type
Okay.
it in, you see
Okay.
me on LinkedIn, or they can just we can provide them my email, just send me
Mhm.
email or my phone number. I'm always happy to help. I actually have a project in Nigeria. My uncle, who is the chief medical director of one of the biggest university teaching hospital back in Nigeria, wanted me to do like a 7-day webinar, to the entire hospital staff about the impact of IT on healthcare, and what the future what the future holds for healthcare when it comes to information technology. So I'm always willing to help. I understand that some people also help me to get where I am. So it would be nice to
Mhm.
return the favor.
Okay. Perfect.
So thank you so much. This ends our series of Really Career Talk Show featuring Yemi. So thank you guys for watching. Tune in for our next episode. And thank you, Yemi, for being a part of our show today.
Thank you so much. You guys have a wonderful one.
You
Likewise.
too.
Take care.
Take care.
Bye.
So, guys, I hope you really enjoyed the episode we just had with Yemi, featuring his journey from nursing to IT. He spoke a lot about all kinds of things related to IT. I think one of the big main things that I got from it was that he was always developing, not just doing DBA. He went to also do ETL development and things of that nature, kind of that constant consistency of learning. So If you want to hear more from us, please tune into our next episode. Any particular topics you'd like us to really discuss, please let us know. Any questions, please let us know. We're here to help you and guide you through your career service journey or your career journey. So signing out.
Yes, and also to don't forget to look at our social media, which is any social media handles, basically Reley Career Services LLC from Facebook to Instagram. And you can go to our webpage, which is ReleyCareerServices.com. Like I said, if you have any questions, we do have a submission page as well too, so you can access at any time. Like I said, my name is Foley, and thank you for being part of this series, as well as my partner here.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Until next time.
Until next time. Thank you.